after he commits crimes because of his collection piece. Before the thieves can attack, though, Destra arrives. Toma advises that they not rush in because Destra looks strong. He gives Boondolt.
Hold on. We may have only just gone live. I may have misinterpreted Zero's message.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna start over. Hey everybody, welcome to Toku Portal Podcast. I am Ryan. With me is
Decade.
And the Little King, and sorry if there's slight technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It happens. So, yeah. Talking about LupinRanger versus PatoRanger, episode 5. So the Phantom Thieves are observing a shady man in an alley. It's actually the gangler, Boondolt. He's great at running because of his collection piece. Before the thieves can attack, though, Destra arrives. Toma advises that they not rush in, which is a good call because Destra, as we will see, is super freaking strong. He gives Boondolt an assignment and leaves, and Boondolt jumps away. That's kind of an interesting. It's kind of a callback because, like, so many times in old Sentai, the villains would just jump away just because they can, and now one actually has to use a collection piece to jump away from fights. So that was kind of funny. But we cut to an airport. Director Hilltop arrives with a briefcase. Pretty much while they're on the road, Boondolt attacks him and the 2 officers he's with. He opens the case, revealing 2 VS vehicles. Well, in the little toy mode. The LupinRangers show up, Kaitou change, and roll call. They attack. Hilltop calls for backup. So, yeah, another good opening. What do you guys think?
First general battle, yay! And of course they got their asses handed to them because why the hell wouldn't they? It's the first general. The fights were both really good, and I am always happy to see more Hilltop, so kudos to them on that. But other than that, not much else. Oh, I will Doombolt to my Pokemon fans out there. He's the Sentai version of Abra. I'm sorry if you guys didn't get that. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Moon lately. But other than that, not much else to say.
So I was super shocked to see Destra show up. Like, wow, one of the 3 already? These guys are built up that, like, they have a special appearance in the opening. And it's also kind of, like, shocking that we see one so soon. But so far, neither team has actually known who they're really fighting. They've just been going after the ganglers. Now they see one of the actual generals. As for the 2 new mechs, bike and helicopter, it's very clear that, like, alright, well, Lupin has the aerial theme and PatoRanger has the ground vehicles. I was actually curious, though, like, if they were going to stick with that or if they were going to, like, do the opposites. And then we see what happens.
Yeah, and sadly, they, of course, spoiled it when they're like, oh, coming up next, and you see Pato Kaiser with the bike attachment, and you see Lupin Kaiser with the helicopter. But oh well, still cool. That they're being consistent. So yeah, after the opening, we cut to Dogranio's mansion. Get the episode title, number 5, Targeted Global Police. Gosh wonders what Destra's scheming, because he's obviously not interested in wealth, but he's got some sort of plan going on. Red manages to grab the bike piece from Boondolt. The police arrive. Red tosses Boondolt a card before taking off. At the cafe, Kairi explains that he challenged him to a fight in a warehouse so the police wouldn't interfere. Smart thinking. It's obvious to the thieves that Kokude is hiding something with this new discovery that the police had even more pieces. Toma wonders how the gangler found out that they were transferring these collection pieces. So yeah, these these Sentai are actually pretty damn smart, and even though they're not the cops, they're doing some pretty good detective work themselves. What you guys think?
Yet another reason I am on Team Thief. Their red is so confident, their blue is level headed most of the time, and the yellow actually makes me laugh. So, kudos on them. And to make my point clear, yes, I did like the moment with Kairi. That was very clever. Kogure, I've said my piece on him already. I do not trust him as far as any of them can throw him. But, as for how, I get that Kogure could be hiding some stuff and how the cops got their hands on more than the versus changers for pieces. Well, it's kind of an obvious one, but we already know that the Gangler have human disguises. So, who's to say one of them isn't in the ranks? Excuse me. Who's to say one of them isn't in the ranks of either side, really? Kokura could be working with the Gangler to get some of the info he's given to the thieves. There could be one in the cops area that was able to pawn off some of the collections under the radar, so they wouldn't be suspicious. Who knows? But it does lead to some fun theories.
Yeah, when Destra explains to Gosh that he knew about the police route because a little birdie told him, I'm wondering if Kogure was the little birdie. If he somehow knew and then told it to the Ganglars so that they would take the collection pieces from the police so that the LupinRangers could just take it back. As for the cleverness, I agree. Like, these two Sentai are really good. Yeah. With Gosh, sorry. With Gosh, questioning Destra on like, what are your motives? Are you betraying us? I was actually kind of worried. It's like, no, don't just be betraying them already. We can't get into that kind of thing yet. I'm glad though that it's actually just like super legit. Like, no, I'm investigating. I just don't want to say anything before I know anything. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
Okay. Yep. It's definitely a decent subplot for the villains for now. So yeah, Jim briefs the officers on the new vehicles, which, like we said, they're a bike and a helicopter. The officers are resolved to retrieve them before they're used for evil. That is an interesting kind of thought. Like, what would happen if the Gangler put one of the Sentai's collection pieces in their safe and tried using it? Would it even work? I guess that's what Destra's trying to find out. So Destra tells Gosh that the human and Gangler collection pieces may be different somehow. And then he hints that he has a spy with police intel, which is how he got the transfer route. But Boondolt is waiting for the thieves to arrive at the warehouse, but surprisingly, global police rush in. There was a tracker in the briefcase. The Keisatsu change, Potamon appear for an ambush, the thieves arrive, and Kaitou change. Ichigo manages to grab the helicopter vehicle during the fight, and then Red challenges him to a duel, because now they both have a vehicle. The other Sentai chase Boondolt. Yeah, there's a lot of good choreography in this fight. Not just in the duel, in like the ambush before. Any thoughts before I move on?
Not much, but now I kind of feel stupid for saying that theory because that's basically what happened. So, anyway, I like that Red was challenging, because challenging authority, and it is for fair reasoning. And hey, who am I to deny a clash of? Who am I to deny anything involving the LupinRangers? So, it was short but sweet.
Yeah, I do like that in this instance, like, they both grabbed, like, the opposite one that, their mechs are going to end up with anyways. So even though it's still, like, aerial theme for LupinRanger, we get to see Lupin ride the bike a little bit. Well, I guess I'm getting a little ahead of myself there. I do love that, they put the tracker in the briefcase itself, because then they just can't, rather than like in the pieces, because then they couldn't just like, well, let's just track where the pieces are. Oh, hey, this one's at that cafe. It's little details like that. And I love just seeing the Ganglar react to finding the tracker, like, oh, damn. And then we get our Red versus Red fight, our first one.
Yes. So the Reds duel, and during the fight, Ichigo calls out Red for being on the wrong side of the law, regardless of his motives. Kaede agrees, but remembers his brother and gains the advantage. Ichigo desperately deploys the Cyclone vehicle, which is the helicopter, and Red deploys the biker vehicle. The other Rangers nearly defeat Boondolt when they are bombarded by Destra. Boondolt retreats using his collection piece. So during the chase, Red manages to disable Cyclone and steal it. Now he's got both pieces. Destra summons a golem to retrieve the collection piece. Good Striker joins the PatoRangers, and Ichigo kind of hesitates before deploying the vehicles. So, yeah, we're getting some decent build-up for the next episode. These episodes have been flowing pretty seamlessly, so that's nice. And then, yeah, they deploy in Pato Kaiser, and yes, I love that theme, even the instrumental version. They struggle a little bit, but they defeat the golem, and clearly Keiichiro has something on his mind. Thoughts?
Depth in a character, even if it's one I don't particularly like, is always a good thing in my opinion. So the fact that we're starting to see Keiichiro less hot-headed, well, not gone, but less, and a bit more hesitant, a bit more thoughtful about his actions, why he's doing this at all, stuff like that. It's good to see, and oh my god, that fight! It's just the points they were hitting. The fight itself was amazing. It was just so much fun, and the chase scene. I loved the idea of swapping the vehicles on them, like have the LupinRangers drive one of the trigger machines, and have one of the Pat Rangers drive the Lupin vehicles. That's really clever. Like, have them be in different modes of transportation. Find out what different weapons they can use with different vehicles. That's fun, and that's really smart because it makes it more fresh. Just, I loved that a lot, and you can see Kyrie's probably not, dealing with. Kyrie probably didn't brush this off either. Like, he had a lot to think about too, because he agrees with Keiichiro's way of thinking. Like, yes, I may be on the opposite side of the law as you, but it's not like I really have much of a choice in the matter. You guys do what you have to do. How are we any different? Just because we're on the other sides of the law? And to be fair, I mean, if you want to get technical about it, maybe a couple damage laws here and there, but to be perfectly honest, honest, the Gangler have done a lot worse than the LupinRangers ever could. So, while yes, they are thieves, the term is gentleman thieves for a reason. They only ever attack and kill Gangler. They've never harmed civilians, and again, besides a few damage laws, what have they really violated enough for an arrest? You know? Like, maybe that's something they'll go a bit more in depth into, but from this point in time, my point is, I can see the standpoint, but I don't really see why they warrant so much of an arrest simply just because they're based off of thieves. You know what I mean?
So far, it seems to be because it seems like they're trying to take the law into their own hands, but they don't have any actual authority. Not so much that they're thieves, although the fact that they're calling them that doesn't help. It also has to do with they don't have any authority to deal with the Ganglars officially, but they are, and that's probably their biggest problem with it. Like, these guys are not allowed to take the law into their own hands. They're not police in any way.
That's fair, yeah.
I really enjoyed this red versus red fight. It was really well done. Everything was just set up great. When they get to that one part of the warehouse that makes it look like it's nighttime, even though it's day outside. Just because the atmosphere works out super well for it. And yeah, their conversation about, like, their different ideals. You're just a thief. Yeah, but what you're using didn't belong to you in the first place, so why shouldn't I take it back? And then, yeah, I agree. I liked seeing them use the opposite type of mech that they normally would. And I hope we see more of that. Not often, but just occasionally see them, like, step outside of their comfort zone and go, you know what, I wish I was piloting one of the flying mechs right now. Aside from that, the mech fight was a little short-lived, but it wasn't bad.
Yep, I'm definitely looking forward to more flexibility with mechs. Oops, sorry. So let's see. Yeah, they defeat the golem and Goody takes off. Despite taking a beating, the thieves are determined to take Fundolt's piece. Kairi pretends to leave the cafe in good spirits, but he's actually kind of conflicted about Keiichiro's truthful words that they are criminals. I mean, none of them were criminals before that incident, so obviously it's gonna hurt a bit. But Keiichiro is alone at the office and is furious. And that will be resolved next episode. But that's it for this one. Any final thoughts?
There's not really much to say on the ending part, but there is one thing. The very first episode I talked about a little bit how Kairi and Keiichiro are very much old school and new school kind of. Like, one is technology, the other's more, using the old ways. That's very true in these last 5 episodes. Like, Kairi is very modernized. He's got a broader way of thinking. Like, okay, we may be thieves, but, we haven't done much. I mean, besides something with the Ganglers. My point is, though, he's very in the now. He's found a way to cheat the system, I guess, is a good way to put it. Keiichiro, on the other hand, as we've seen, is very hard-headed, hot-headed. He's very much in the old way of thinking. He's very traditional with his methods. He's all about procedure. So to see these two clash and feel that their perspectives on how to put it is clashing and starting to shift in certain ways feels really good to see because we're seeing contrasts in characters and we're seeing these two people who, yes, you could argue that the other four are on both sides really similar in that sense, but none of them are as hard. I will argue that none of them are as hardcore as these two. Like, they are polar opposites on every front. But to see these two contrast and clash and start to see their strengths and perspectives waver feels really nice. And now we're seeing like Kyrie face the truth of this is his life now. He can't really hide behind it anymore. Ironic as that is. And Keiichiro, like Decade said next episode, we're gonna see he's basically facing all of his reasoning, his way of looking at life, and his job, everything he's devoted for this life as a cop and as a PatoRanger is being put in front of him. And he doesn't really seem like he knows how to face that. So, and the way they did that with the cinematography was really nice. Like, just the moon over the city, and you can see the two just on opposite sides, just you can see the emotions in their faces. It's just so well done. I loved it.
Yeah. I can't really add to that because you're right about everything. So I'm also going to just talk about something else that I like, which is the 2 roll calls we're getting per episode now. And why I like this is because usually the standard formula is that, like, alright, team comes in, they fight, monster gets away, they come back in at the end of the episode, then do their roll call and fight again. And the way that this series is mixing up that formula is that, like, one team will come in early on, do their roll call, and then later on we get the other team come in and do their roll call. And they're not even long, so they don't even take up a whole lot of time together. It's just an interesting mix because you know you're still watching the same one episode, but the way that the roll calls just blend into the episode, you don't even... It's not something that you generally notice, or at least I haven't so far. It just seems... It feels so natural.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. But that's about it. My final thoughts. We are getting so spoiled because this show is really good. The writing, the fighting. Looking forward to seeing how the mechs will evolve. I'm really liking this show so far.
One thing that I think Sentai and Toku in general really has a big factor in its fandom, and really it shows, is contrasting good or evil, light or dark, however you want to spin it, in some way, shape, or form. It has been an integral part of really this community. So to see this in this show, like, and at this point, really, knows how they're going to do it down the road, but to see it come to this point, it seriously feels like what it's been in the community in the, well, most years, but especially in recent ones. So, a bit heavy, I will admit, but I was thinking about that, and I liked how this show, well, showed that. So, kudos to them.
One of my favorite Sentai is Tokyuger, which is just very much a light versus dark kind of story. But when you get into the Shadow Line, the characters, the villains, have a lot going on. They have their own, like, ambitions and desires that they get to the point where some of them just start questioning, like, why they're even being villains, why they're spreading darkness. And they are my favorite villains of any Sentai series. Just the way they interact with each other at times too, questioning their own motives. And some of them even end up betraying the others for it. I'm getting kind of like the opposite vibe from this series, where that kind of thing is sort of happening with the heroes, because they have conflicting ideals about how to approach the situation, but they're ultimately after a very similar goal. And yeah, 5 episodes in, the show is killing it. We are getting spoiled. I just really like it, and I don't usually like to say like, oh, this show will probably be on my top 10 before I finish it. I'm pretty sure this series is going to be in my top 10 list though. If everybody has said everything they want to, I think that's it for tonight. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with Kamen Rider Build, and back next Tuesday for more LupinRanger versus PatoRanger. See you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Adieu, and later, taters.